starts with the 4 ethics, and then there's the 12 principles, and there's explanations for everything in the manual. So,
okay, so we'll just
you don't have to write things down at the moment. Okay, so what is permaculture? Permaculture started in the 70s. There's a lecturer called Paul Mollison, and he had a student, David Holmgren, and the two of them got together and they conceptualized permaculture, which actually is permanent agriculture, which is sustainability, something that will carry on and just get better with age and take us into the future. How can we interact with the natural forces to make it benefit us? Instead of seeing it as a problem, we see it as a force to be made into something that we can use. A swale, catching water, stopping it, spreading, it's sinking into the ground, and everything at the bottom will benefit from the water in the system. Family living here will receive fruit at different times of the year. They've got timber, they've got building material, they've got thatching, everything growing around them. A very diverse system. And edges, we cultivate edge. The swale is an edge. One of the greatest examples of an edge is a coral reef, where the deep sea will meet the shallow sea, and there's a beautiful coral reef, and the diversity on a coral reef is extreme. And it's right there in between the two places where there's opportunity for interaction between the two phases in the system. We start with the center of our household, the zone 0. Very intense managed systems goes around the house, so where you'll constantly be. You go outside your door, you walk straight into a salad garden or a herb garden, you're constantly going to use it every day. You need herbs, you need salad. So there's a zone map. 0 starts in the middle, and then lesser intensity. As you go outwards, you eventually get to zone 5, which is the wilderness. So they call it the 3 sisters. It's a very popular polyculture where you plant maize, beans and pumpkins on the same piece of land. And the beans will climb up the maize, will also fertilize the soil with nitrogen, and the pumpkin will provide a living mulch. And they've got big leaves, so they can capture any little bit of sunlight that comes through the foliage of the places. Like heavy givers, so nitrogen fixing plants, the peas and the beans, they're heavy givers, they give lots of nitrogen into the soil. Light givers, dynamic accumulators, comfrey, yarrow, dandelion, thistles, they all contribute something to the soil. So they're light givers. Heavy feeders, anything that big, you can see it, like it takes lots of energy to produce a pumpkin. It's big. It's a heavy feeder, so it needs lots of nutrients out of the soil. All the brassicas are all heavy feeders, maize. So once this is done, you can follow with something like a heavy giver. So then you have a rotation system where you have a heavy feeder, a heavy giver, and then you can go down to a light feeder. Salads you can plant anywhere, anytime. They fit in very nicely where you have plantings left, little spaces open. They're light feeders, they don't need lots of nutrients. Onions, especially the root crops, are all light feeders. They don't want lots of nutrients in the soil because then they make excessive top growth and they don't make a bulb. Onions, I know, carrots, beet, anything that grows below the ground, they like light soil, very little nutrients, they just carry on. Alliums with legumes, because alliums, antibacterial. And what does legumes have on the roots? Bacteria to fix nitrogen. So the one kills the other one basically. Well, it doesn't kill the plant, but it will diminish the effect of the bacteria because of the allium's antibacterial effect. Things you need to look at when you select your species for your food forest. One is the structure of the mature tree. So you don't really look at the tree when it's standing in its bag. You need to look at like, what is it going to look like when it's fully grown. Because that's going to eventually be what your food forest is a fully grown tree, and lots of them. So you need to look at like, where is it going to sit, where is it going to go, what's the foliage like, is it going to be a big spreading crown, is it going to go straight up? You have 7 layers of a food forest. If you look on the front of the manual there, you've got your canopy layer, you've got small trees, you've got a herb layer, sorry I skipped a shrub, you've got a shrub layer, herb layer, ground cover, root zone and the climber. So you have 7 layers, and in certain climates you can also have palms, like where you're shooting up like emergent palms. So you have 8 possible layers of a forest. So you're capturing sunlight in all of those levels. Predators in, the predatory wasps, we're creating an ecosystem be self-fertile. That's why we're using our leguminous trees like the Kerbum, great soil builder. We're using other plants also to build soil, and when they die they become part of the soil and build the fertility. So it's a self-fertile system that will sustain itself without input from us, or minimal input. Initially a lot, and then eventually going. When you walk into the fruit forest, it'll look nice. You walk in and there's fruit growing, there's medicinal plants growing. It's a spiritual connection place that you create, as a part of nature that you brought into your home space. This white stuff, it's leaf mold, and that's nature's way of breaking down the leaves and cycling it into soil. And in your manual there's a prep, it's called the IMO prep, it's indigenous microorganisms, and where you can take this and add it to cooked brown rice, and you make an inoculant that you can put into your compost or into your garden, introduce it into the mulch, and it would function in your food forest like it would function here, by cycling the minerals and putting nutrients back into the ground. So this is a source where we can come and get microorganisms from this area introduced into our food forest.
And she used to have it here. Yeah.
Put all of that back in, and then once that hole is full, then we can put some compost in it.
So we're going to put that back?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna be very happy. In a nice row.
Oh, is that one with the tameesh system?
This one?
Yeah.
What tree is this that we're planting?
This is a loquat.
It's fruit tree.
Yeah. Makes beautiful fruit, nice for kids.
Big.
Nice to climb in. It's like a yellow fruit with one or two.
We should clean the tools, hey? Oh, okay.
Wat heb je daar voor iets lekkers?
As that we see here, the fever tree is a canopy pioneer. It's a leguminous tree and will grow big. Also it's got filtered shade, so it will cast shadow from the rest and support the smaller things to their lives. Our fruit trees, we've got canopy fruit trees, we've got smaller fruit trees, we've got fruiting shrubs. Then we have smaller leguminous species, pioneer species, the Kerbum. And in the middle there's a Critolaria. Indigenous rosemary, hardy plant, great for cooking, medicinal, also brings bees, also keeps insects away. So we're selecting pioneers with as many functions as possible. One element, many functions.
So there's one fruit tree with its pan already made. We're looking for about 1 meter from the center all around. And then we're going to take the fork and loosen everywhere. One thing, and then it must go flat. So you're taking soil from the top and bringing it this way to create a terrace.
Okay, because the water's going this way.
Yes,
So
you want
that
to create
you can...
a terrace, a level circle. That sits
Okay,
in, so the water will flow, sit there, and then go into the ground.
Back again.
No.
No, it doesn't. This one.
Okay, the basics of an A-frame, it's 3 sticks, 2 the same length, 1 shorter. It's attached to the top, it's attached there with screws, wire, nails, anything you can find. Piece of string and a weight. We start at the top of the tree pan because the water will flow down, it'll backfill into the swale. So we start at the top.
Side of the... But if that hadn't been flattened out, it would be high.
Because then if there's more roots than foliage, the transpiration rate is out. So it will have the same amount of foliage as roots. So if we take some of the foliage off, it will drop roots. There's the nodules.
Oh wow, look at those.
See, it's already beautifully
Yeah.
formed. So it's already doing what we wanted to do.
Yes.
And it's a healthy tree.
Got it. We'll try again. My finger's stuck.
Part of the plant guilds for the fruit trees, and they're playing a role, performing a function. The yarrow is a dynamic accumulator, also a good compost activator. It keeps pests away. It's also a medicinal plant. This is wild garlic, Tobacco. It's forming part of the guilds. Insectary, keeps insects away. Also a medicinal plant. So it forms a barrier for crawling insects that want to come into the fruit tree.
Let's put a